During the late 18th and 19th centuries, a strong state emerged within the Sulu trading zone, an extensive region comprising the southern rim of the Sulu Sea and the whole of the Celebes Sea basin. The formation and prosperity of the Sulu Sultanate was based above all else on slaves. It was the role of the Sulu state within its larger trading zone to maintain the material and social conditions for the recruitment and exploitations of slaves. The Sulu Sultanate is the historic home of peoples, languages, and cultures as varied as its landscape. The Tausug, the dominant ethnic group in the Sulu archipelago, are the sole residents of the Hulu Island, the historical seat of the Sultanate. Originally fishermen and traders with martial art skills, members of them adapted to agriculture. The Samal strand dwellers with close ties to the sea, possessed of highly developed boat building techniques and sometimes practicing simple garden agriculture, are the most widely dispersed of all ethno-linguistic groups in the Sulu chain, manifesting the greatest degree of internal linguistic and cultural difference. Samal communities predominate on the Coralline Island cluster in the northern and southern part of the Sulu archipelago, northern Borneo, and Celebes. By 1800, regional redistribution had become the main pattern of the economy of the Sulu Sultanate. Indirectly, it was the insatiable demand for tea that initiated European interest in Sulu's natural products and its sudden rise to regional primacy. During the 18th century, tea replaced ale as the national beverage of England and was especially popular among the poorer classes. Sulu's ascendancy towards the end of the 18th century developed out of the expanding trade between India, Southeast Asia, and China. The maritime and jungle products to be found within the Sulu zone and in the area of its trading partners, bird's nest, wax, camphor, mother of pearl, tortoise shell, were the new products for redressing the British East India Company's adverse trade balance with China. Of importance for Sulu were textiles and other imported manufactures, opium, and also gun and powder, which contributed to the Sultanate's physical power. Slaving activity developed to meet the accentuated demands of foreign trade. Holo became the nerve center for the coordination of slave raiding. It delineates the parameter of slavery as an institution in Sulu and described in some detail how slaves were captives served as dependents of the Sulu elite. In the late 18th and 19th centuries, the population of Sulu was heterogeneous but changing socially, economically, and ethnically. This was a direct result of external trade. Slavery in Sulu was observed through the eyes and preconceptions of European observers and writers who viewed Sulu as the center of a world fundamentally hostile to their interests. The impact of external trade on the pre-industrial economies of African kingdoms has received considerable attention from the Catherine Cochrane, Samir Amin, and Yves Persson. In this society, external trade enabled the aristocracy to realize the surplus productivity extracted from the labor of its slave. The importance of a mode of production based on slave labor in the Sulu Sultanate is perhaps more apparent. Power and wealth in Sulu were defined only secondarily in terms of territory. The accumulation of wealth and the transmission of power and privilege in Sulu was facilitated by the ownership of slaves. This was even more the case after the advent of European trade in the Sulu archipelago in the late 18th century. Slave labor in the tripang and pearl fisheries helped to provide the products introduced into external trade. A datu who could acquire large number of slaves could engage more people in procurement activities and trade, and with the surplus wealth they produce, attract others to him. In Sulu's Sultanate, banyaga or chattel slaves could have family roles as husband or wife, they could own property, and they often fill a variety of political and economic roles. Kiapanggilihan or bond slaves were persons from the ranks of commoner tausug whose servility was the direct result of personal debt. Kiapanggilihan were an integral part of a creditor's following but with a lower status than freemen who voluntarily attached themselves to a leader. Indebtedness enabled datus to command the labor of Tausug commoners to ensure the manpower reserves they required in the functional of the social formation. The basic differences between slavery among the Tausug and slavery as it was generally understood in the West was the variability of social distance that existed between slave and master. A master was liable to neglect or mistreat a banyaga who was remiss in his duties, but the statements of escaped slaves and travel accounts of observers reveal that slaves, and especially those with knowledge and skills, had good relations with their masters and were not easily distinguished among his following. But for many slaves among the Tausug and Samal, escape rather than manumission remained their central ambition. This was particularly the case of Indio men who had been torn away from their homes and families and had experienced the hardships of the Balangingi traffic. There was a clear division of labor between the work of male and female banyaga. The male assisted their masters in clearing virgin forests, in plowing, in harvesting timber, in building and maintaining boats, and hauling water. They also labored in the fisheries in search of mother of pearl shell, and tripang manufactured salt accompanied their masters on trading expeditions and sailed as crew on Balangingi prahus. Mother of shell became one of Sulu's most profitable exports by the beginning of the 19th century. Once Asian and European traders realized the shell's value to manufacturers of jewelry, cutlery, and furniture in Clayton and Europe, they became the chief customers of the commodity, which, with the tripang, was among the most important items of export from Hulu. Ordinarily, the vending of cloth, vegetables, and other trade goods in villages, at the open market, or to foreign vessels was done by the banyaga. The prosperity of the Sulu Sultanate depended to a large extent on the labor of the banyaga who manned the slave raiding prahus. Raiding seems to have provided other such slaves with opportunity for modest social advance, especially if they showed a talent for fighting. In prominent trading centers like Hulu, Parang, and Bual, where agriculture was of secondary importance, talented banyaga engaged in a wide range of activities and played leading roles as bureaucrats on the Samal Islands, acted as tribute collectors throughout the zone, and manned tariff stations on Bornean rivers.